All right, and you're back in the studio here with Heavy D, and this is the next show. On this episode, things of nature to discuss. It's going to be mostly my round two NBA playoff prediction show. So I'm gonna let you know who's playing, who's gonna win, in my opinion, and how many games. And I'm also going to talk about a huge victory that mine and your Philadelphia Flyers pulled off today against the New York Islanders, bringing that series down from 3-1 to 3-2 now, with a shot at Game 6 and hopefully a winner-take-all Game 7. Also, the Canucks did their thing last night. I believe that was a 2-1 final against Vegas. Now their series is at 3-2 Vegas, and they have a chance to go to Game 6 and possibly Game 7 after being down 3-1. So good stuff. Jays are doing pretty well for themselves too. So that's probably all I'm going to say about them. I'm wearing the hat, obviously, as you can see here, but you know, if they can cling to that 8th spot and maybe make the playoffs, then we'll have more to discuss when it comes to the Blue Jays. But until such time, there's still really nothing much to talk about. They made some decent acquisitions at the trade deadline, and it looks like they're a much more improved team. But again, we'll see what happens once they get into the postseason. Now, first things first. The NBA bubble second round of the playoffs. Now, we're still waiting on the Game 7 final between the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Houston Rockets. What did I say? I believe I did say in the previous show, in the round one playoff preview, that the Rockets would take that one, and I do still think that they will. So that would mean that your first matchup seemingly would be the Los Angeles Lakers against the Houston Rockets, who I predict will win that Game 7. Interesting matchup. I mean, Houston is a lot of offense, but they don't really play defense. And I think now is a time for LeBron to take over a playoff series, and he just wants another trophy, man. He wants a trophy in LA, and he's still looking like a pretty damn good player, even though this is like his 17th year in the league or something like that. So, and he's played a lot of basketball over his career, but I think, with the coronavirus stoppage and everything, I think this guy is well rested and he's coming back like a man on a mission. So I think in the second round as well, I'm going to say Lakers against the Rockets. Lakers win the series in 6 games. I think, if the Rockets do get by Oklahoma City Thunder, I think they have ability to win 1 or 2 games, but they're not going to beat the Lakers in the end. I mean, the Lakers could probably take it in 5 too if they really, really wanted to. I think they're that good of a team. Lakers in 6. Next series, we're looking at the Denver Nuggets, who came off of a huge Game 7 victory there against the LA Clippers. It's just looking more and more like in the Western Conference, we're just headed for a Clippers-Lakers Western Conference final there. It looks like we're on a collision course for that Western Conference final. So, I mean, Clippers are going to win that series. They have more experience. They have better players. They got Kawhi and Paul George, who can both take over a game. And, I think they learned in their first round matchup that, you gotta shut down the opponents quickly and take them out before they have any kind of a chance to have something to cling to and maybe come back in the series. So I think Denver's going to be a tough matchup for the Clippers. I think this one can go the distance, but Clippers will prevail. I think Clips in 6 or 7 games is what's going to happen. Just in the end, the Clips will be too much as far as experience is concerned. Doc Rivers, brilliant head coaching there. So he's going to have those guys ready to play against that opponent. That's for sure. Over in the East, I got the Milwaukee Bucks taking on the Miami Heat. I believe Miami already took a 1-0 series lead in that one. and it looks like they're going to take a 2-0 series lead because at the time when I last checked, they were up by 6 points or something like that. Jimmy Butler playing out of his mind in his home state, his home city. He came back. He signed with Miami. He made sure that all his players put in the work ethic, because that's one thing that he's known for. He's known for hitting shots, obviously, but also putting in the work in the gym and the film room and everything. So he's certainly been a very polarizing figure for that team, very polarizing teammate, a galvanizing type of teammate that seems to have rallied the rest of the troops, and they're getting it done, man. They're getting it done against Milwaukee. Everybody kept saying, "Oh, Giannis, 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 MVP, MVP, MVP." Well, guess what? He ain't looking like no damn MVP in this series. I think Miami has the tools to get it done. I think Miami in 7. I'm just gonna take Miami in 7. They're looking good, and I would love to see Miami Heat, Toronto Raps, Eastern Conference Final. That would be amazing. And that leads us to the next and last series in the second round of the NBA playoffs. The Celtics versus the Raps. I know that at the time of this posting, the Celtics have taken a 2-0 series lead on the Raps. I mean, I called the Raps in 6 anyways. This is exactly what happened against Milwaukee last year. Everybody, Milwaukee took a 2-0 series lead, and everybody's like, "Oh, Raps are done, Raps are done, Raps are done." Well, no, they weren't done, because they came back and won 4 straight, completely shut Giannis down. So, and the referees, like Nick Nurse said, the referees have been very good to Jaylen Brown, very good to him, very good, and making sure that he gets the proper calls, and making sure that this guy ends up going to the free throw line 14 times. Like, okay, yeah. And while the rest of the Raptors as a team went to the line 19 times as a team. So, yeah, you tell me, man. It just seems like the refs are being paid to shell out these calls to make sure that a Canadian team doesn't repeat as champs. Because like my buddy Reg said on Facebook, man, he's like, "Oh God forbid that a Canadian team would repeat as NBA champions. It'll completely cripple the league." And he's totally right, man. Like, for real, it's just getting ridiculous. But I think Nick Nurse is still a brilliant coach, and barring some crazy, you know, oblivious refereeing. I mean, we've kind of seen that already, but you know, like there's nothing you can really say like there's no positives that you can take away from that. You can be playing the best basketball of your freaking life, but if you're gonna have referees out there that are just making shit calls and taking away from like what is supposed to be a tighter played, more aggressive playoff basketball, then that's bullshit, man. I don't know how any team is supposed to overcome that. So uh, Raps in 6, I'm still going to call it, because I still think they have the ability and the talent and the championship pedigree to do it. But, man, it's just bad when you have to play against the Celtics and the referees. It's kind of a joke. So there it is, guys. That's my NBA second round playoff predictions. You can rewind the tape to hear that again. Now, the other thing I wanted to touch on was as I mentioned off the top of the show, mine and your Philadelphia Flyers with a huge, 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 huge victory against the Islanders. Everybody thought they were cooked. The big boys came and stepped up. Lawton wins it in overtime. He's no stranger to winning games in overtime off a gorgeous tip-in goal from Phil Myers. Man, Phil Myers is just turning out to be such a stud. This man is a stud, and I am so glad that Hextall was there doing the scouting for the defenseman, because he was the guy that took Sanheim. He was the guy that signed Phil Myers. So he deserves a lot of the credit for what's been built there. Now, the additions of Braun and Niskanen have been great too. And I know Niskanen got the third goal for Philly in that game. So he's been a very good addition, minus what he did to Gallagher. That was just stupid and unnecessary. But this Philly team, Giroux scored. I think he had 1 or 2 assists in the game. He certainly got his game going. JBR, for as much as I've said that he's a floater and he doesn't belong on this team, he got on the board too. So good on him. Just keep that train rolling, bud, and you'll be fine. And you'll be able to hold a roster spot. Because myself and your coach, won't stand for you just floating around, earning almost $8 million a year just to float. No, you can't have that. So he was skating good. He popped one, feeling good about himself. So that's nice to see, and hopefully he can just carry over into the next game, and then into Game 7, where ultimately I believe these guys can win. But there's a lot of hockey being played, and those back-to-backs are getting crazy. So hopefully they can do their best and just come out with the win. Speaking of coming out with the win as well, the Vancouver Canucks put on quite a show. Elias Pettersson, holy cow, man! This kid is already a stud too. Speaking of studs, wow, this guy, man, he's just like the next Swedish wonder, and he's got a wicked shot, awesome one timer. He can deke with the best of them. He's fast as fuck. Like, this kid's doing it all. But also a big shout out on that Canucks lineup to oh, his name escapes me right now. Number 43 on the Quinn Hughes. Excuse me, it's Quinn Hughes. Shout out to Quinn Hughes. That guy's been killing it on the Blue Line for Vancouver. Man, I wish we had him on Philly. See, Quinn Hughes is what Shane Gossesbear was supposed to be. But unfortunately, I don't know what happened. Injuries sort of, derailed his progress, and uh, getting scratched because of poor play. I don't know what happened, but Quinn Hughes is what Shane Gossesbear was supposed to be. It's just obviously with Hughes, didn't take him as much time to get there, and ultimately he's there now. So good on him. And Thatcher Demko, good on you too, man. The guy was making solid saves. I think if Vancouver runs with this guy in the future, I think they'll be in a good place. He looked really good last night, and I know it was like a do or die game and this and that, but man, I like that guy. I like Thatcher Demko, and I think he can do some good things for the Canucks in the future if he keeps playing like that, for sure. Yeah, so that's basically it for today, guys. That's all I got. So stay tuned for next time on the next episode of the next show. As always, I want to say that this show would never be possible without my wifey Kirsten. I love you. And my baby Pooh, my baby daughter Sophia. Daddy loves you so much. I hope you're watching this. And I'll give you hugs and kisses next time I see you. Okay, baby. All right, guys. Thank you so much. That's it for me. Tune in next time to the next episode of the next show.